Hello, and welcome to another presentation of Lean Apps. Today we are going to discuss about user stories. So what are user stories? Let's start. I'm Narjeet. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Lean Apps. These are my hashtags: Lean Innovation, Design Thinking, Agile, Digital Transformation. These are some of the companies I've worked with in the past. So in the last week video, what we did was we defined the MVP, or the minimum viable product, what we need. For that, we took an example of a taxi app, what we're trying to build, and we lined out all the different tasks our user, who is the rider of the taxi, is going to perform on the product, which is a mobile app. And we listed down all the different functionalities which each of the step could have. And later on, we also removed the ones which we don't need immediately, to kind of define and minimize the functionality which we can go live with our end customer. So once this is defined, the next step from here is that we're going to define user stories. So user story is nothing but an explanation of the functionality we want to build for this particular user. And we also try to explain why we are building this. So and a very easy way to summarize all of this, basically, there are three things. What are we trying to build? Who are we trying to build it for, and what business value we're going to drive? So if you follow this statement as a user role, so this is my user, and my taxi example, it could be a rider or a driver, depending on which product this user story belongs to. I want to achieve something, that's the functionality I want to develop, so that I can derive a business value out of it. So the business reason why we are doing this. So if you, in essence, it's telling me what we want to do with the functionality, for whom are we building this functionality, and why we are building this functionality. So yeah, it explains you the same thing. User is the person who will use the product to do some task. X is the task user will achieve by this story or feature. And Y is the business reason or the value user will gain by doing task X. So that's how the structure of the user story is. Okay, so some of the important things to remember while writing a user story is that the user is the actual user of that feature or the user story or the functionality. Remember this, in our taxi example, it was on one side of the business there was a rider who was ordering a taxi. On the other side, we have the other user type, which is driver, who is basically accepting the request from the rider and driving him from point A to point B. So these are like our end customer as a user. So let's assume that within this taxi app, we also have internally in the company a customer support team, and we're building some feature which is meant for those customer support guys. So for example, let's say a rider calls customer support to cancel an invoice which was wrongly charged on his car. So customer support has to have some feature to access this user, to see what rides he went on, and should be able to cancel, if required, that invoice. So that in that case, for that internal app where he will do all these things, the user will be the customer support representative. There could be another user like data analytics expert. We are giving some option in the product for them to get some kind of a reporting from the system, for example. Could be a marketing manager where you can see and analyze data from marketing. So if you're building those features. So depending on who is the user and will be using that particular feature, we define that as a user. Some of the common mistakes I've seen that people do, and I've just noted it down, is they try to write the user story according to the guy who's developing the story or designing the story. So that's why you see they write user as a developer, I want to do this, or as a UX designer, I want to do this. But that would be wrong, because at the end of the day, developer or UX designer is not using that product. The user is the one who is actually using the product to do their task and achieve their goal, which the product is meant for. So avoid these mistakes. Okay, so this is an example of a complete user story. One thing I forgot to mention in the previous slides is user story is not just that one statement. It also comes along the acceptance criteria. So acceptance criteria is nothing but you explain each and everything what you need in that particular user story or the functionality, what you need. You can try to explain it in more detail. So let's take an example here again. I'm taking a taxi example, and we're trying to create a user story where a rider can register on the app and is able to log in. So let's say, as a rider, I want to log in into Rider app. So that's the one of the products, Rider app, so that I can access the app and book a taxi for my next ride. Very simply, it shows me the rider will be logging into the app, and then he'll be booking the taxi. That's the whole idea of the product. So to do that, what we need is, and then we start detailing out the acceptance criteria. So that the user or the rider should be able to register with his mobile number. That's the first acceptance criteria. So before I log in, I need to register. So I put the complete registration flow. And here we are saying I register with a mobile number. After entering the mobile number, I should receive a 6-digit unique number as an SMS. So if you think about it, after each registration on any product, we either receive an email or an SMS. So in this case, we are going with SMS, and to confirm the user itself. Third one is I should be able to enter that 6-digit into the app and confirm the mobile number and continue with registration. So once the number is received in SMS, the person enters. So there should be a way to enter that number in the app and confirm the user. I should be able to set the password for myself after the number is confirmed. So it's a combination of mobile number and password, what we're using here. And then once this is over, so basically the whole registration process is over, the user will be going to log in. So he should be able to log in using his mobile number and password, what he just registered with. Then last, what we're saying is I should have an option to reset my password in case I forget it. The reset should work via SMS and unique code, similar to registration. So it's kind of what I need is a forget password flow there. Now, very important thing here is that so everything what you see here, it defines is basically what is required. So we have all the functionalities what is required here. Why is it required? So it says it is required so that I can access the app and book a taxi for my next ride. And for whom it is required, and it's clearly mentioned that it is for a rider on a rider app is what it is required for. What it does not answer, this whole thing, is how this user experience would be, how this whole functionality will be achieved. And this is like the how part. And this usually comes into UX designer part, where they can pick up this user story, or even before the user story is written, they can pick this up and try to create some kind of flow of how the whole registration and how the whole password reset and stuff like that and login would work with real visuals, wireframes and stuff like that. So they will define the how part. And all of this goes as an input, like basically the whole user story in this sentence with acceptance criteria, and the how part, once the user experience is defined by the designer, is handed over to the developer to develop the user story. So if you see, I took some screenshots from Uber. So this is their flow or the user experience where you can enter your mobile number. If you enter an invalid one, so it gives an error. So all these things are taken care by a UX designer. So if you note, when I don't enter anything, it's grayed out. I cannot click this. As soon as I start entering, it allows me to enter it. So it's all defined by the user experience guys. And this is like a forgot password scene where I have to enter a password, or I can go through these different directions. So this is what the user experience guys do. So all of this, as I mentioned, goes as the input to the developer, and they start using this and develop the product. Okay, next one. So this is another example of a login flow and a password reset flow from Snapchat. So you see it's different. It's using email, and you can also define a username and password. They have a forgot password. If I enter a wrong password or username, they give me an error. You see the difference between after entering password, the colors change. It allows me to click this button, and then it also allows me to reset password via phone or email. So every product, every app you would use, you will see this is a different or unique experience. And it depends on how you want to really build your user story. Let's go to the next one. So another example of a user story is as a driver. So now we're looking for in the same idea, we're looking as a different user. As a driver, I want to log into a driver app. So it's not a rider app, it's a driver app, it's a different product, so that I can start taking bookings from the riders. So his goal is to take the bookings. And so that's why we are mentioning it's a different business value, a different reason why he needs this feature. And that's how it explains it. Okay, just another example of a user story. Let's go further. Now I'm logged in. So as a rider, after that, I want to see the list of taxis around me so that I can see which taxi I want to book for my journey from my current location to another part of the city. So this is a simple example of I want to see the list of taxis, and as a rider, basically, so that I can book the taxi I like to book. So a simple acceptance criteria I'll read through. The app should be able to see my current GPS location and take that as a pickup location. So one feature, one kind of functionality I need within this story. I should be able to change my pickup location if required. I should see the list of taxis around me based on distance from me. I should see in time, basically, how much it would take for him to reach to me. I should see in distance how much away he's from me. I should also see the registration number of a taxi. I should also see the brand of a taxi. So you can keep on adding whatever acceptance criteria you have. I should see you see the picture of the driver if available. So all these things. And important thing is, again, it just mentions the what and the why and for whom we are building this. And the UX designer will now define how this will look, how the user is going to interact with the real product. Okay, this is about user stories. If you have any questions around this, just drop me an email at my email, and I'll try to answer your question as soon as possible. Thanks for your time, and see you later.